Watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And our conversation today is on political developments in Rivers State. And to set the ball rolling, let's take this. Okay, Ibrahim Gunda wants to give us, vox pop that he had with some Nigerians. Let's listen to them.
The solution to Rivers State crisis is the stakeholders coming together on the table to discuss how this problem can be resolved.
It needs a political solution. That's all. Any political crisis needs a political solution. That's the only thing that can settle that issue.
Let the two parties, both the governor, the state assembly, should share their tears and come together, because the interest of the river people matters, not for their own personal gain. Land that some of them, because of 2027, let them settle this peace. If there's peace, they know that River State is a volatile state. And we use this medium as a law about the citizens of Nigeria to appeal to the good people of Rivers, both the executive and the lawmaker, to work together as a team.
So the solution is the president must step in and bring all the stakeholders together to discuss.
The president should call them to his house and then settle the matter. By the time they are all going out of the villa, the matter should end and settle in the villa. The president should do that, and he will help Nigerians and help the people of Rivers State.
To obey whatever the court have said. I get me. That will bring the solution, because they have been waiting for Supreme Court all the while. The Supreme Court has come. Let them obey. Chicken.
So if they obey,
come together. Peace committee. Let them discuss it. There's nothing we can discuss. Let them discuss together, and you see these things will become an issue.
Thank you, Gunda, for bringing us those respondents from the street. And in fact, one of them said that the president should invite, the parties to his house. Okay, maybe at the personal house or the villa. All right, let me quickly begin our introductions. And we have our guest here, Honorable Ahmad Sajo, who, of course, we know was former Commissioner for Information and Strategy in Adamawa State. And we are always glad to have him join us when we have such heated topics.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, good to have you with us. Yes, and also joining us for this conversation, and you know him, Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst, his personal rod. Jide, thank you for joining us.
Claire, welcome back from your leave.
I've been back since.
Nice to have you.
I've been back since.
At least I've seen you for the first time after your leave.
Thank you.
You didn't add that his fans call him the Asorogbayi of Africa, but it's okay.
Thank you for that recognition.
Let me also welcome Ezenwa Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms. I've just been reminded that he's a chief.
He's a chief.
Welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
We've left that for Joe. Let him continue. Thank you so very much.
All right, gentlemen. Honestly, the topic we have at hand, it's not one that should elicit laughter. It's a very serious one that has very severe consequences for our democracy going forward. Too many back and forths going on in Rivers State. In fact, I really do not know where to start from. Just as I don't know whom to start with right now here in the studio. But I guess we should begin from the latest, which is, we hear that an impeachment notice has been served, addressed to the Speaker. Of course, that process has been kick-started. I don't know. Let me start with Ahmed Sajo.
Yeah.
And you know why I'm starting.
I know.
Yes. Let's look at this notice. What does it mean for the governor? Is it an end for him?
Well, from my own experience, I was a chief press secretary in the government house working with the governor when this impeachment process, was carried out in 2014. And so I could say that I had some deep-rooted experiences in how these things are managed. And with all the constitutional provisions, all these obstacles that the Constitution tried to put on the way of carrying out an impeachment, did not stop my principal then from being impeached. And something very similar to what is taking place today in Rivers, that they were able to clear both the governor and the deputy governor at the same time on the floor of the House. So when the impeachment notice, begins the process, it only takes the grace of God to save. And there is no governor that has even been served an impeachment notice that had survived. Balarabe Musa, who was the first, also had similar notice, except if the House just says we are not carrying it to the end. But if they insist on carrying it to the end, it's very difficult to actually reverse it.
But there were governors that the court had to reverse the impeachment.
The court reversed,
yes.
Not the House. Once the House begins the process, yes. I tell you that it's very difficult. Even in the case I'm talking about, yes. At the end of the day, the Court of Appeal said Nyako's impeachment was illegal, was not done properly. But it had already taken place. So once the House begins the process, they kickstart the process. They carry it out without... all this that the governor has to be served personally and all that. You try to avoid all of that, but it did not work in the case of my principal, and it did not work in the case of about 2 or 3 other governors that I know. But there are a lot of, at the end of the day, of course, the court, the courts can reverse it, but that does not mean that the House, once they begin the process, that they may not carry it.
So is it the beginning of the end of the route for Governor?
Unless he finds, or unless a political solution is found. That brings him with if the House decides to go ahead with it, it will be very difficult to stop the process.
Well, I pick one thing from what Ahmed Sajo said, which is that in the end the court may overturn. And I wonder, why processes go on, that will eventually be found to have been faulty. But that's by the way. Let me get to Ezenwanwago. How did we get here? Because if you are going to tackle this matter, you have to, what were the factors that brought us this far from the very beginning? It didn't start like this 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago, when the governor was sworn in, where did it all go wrong?
Asking me where it went wrong would mean that I know where they started, and honestly that the fact of the matter is that once you take away contest, once there is no contest in a democratic situation, and then you have what you call give. I gave you the ticket. If you listen to conversations, it's always about give. There is no contest. So if you contest for it, you won it by yourself. Some of the conversations that we are having will not come up. So let's start from the beginning. The criminalization of aspiration, where people cannot, an environment where somebody cannot say I want to be. You can't even wake up and say I want to be. So if you are giving, then for me it's a Game of Thrones. There are no victims. I don't know if you get. So Rivers, anytime you look at Rivers, you want to start with Governor Judge and Peter Odili. Okay? How did he play? You always hear things like betrayal. And then you come down to Governor Odili Amechi. You hear the same kind of conversation. And then Mike Fubara, the same kind of. So when you look at that trajectory, where is the place of the ordinary Rivers person in this? Who has asked for the content of the betrayals, this series of betrayals? What is in it? So to ask me where it began, you have to find out what is it that these people, they control, the political economy of the control of the resources of the Rivers people is where it started. And somebody wants to be dominant, and somebody is saying, no, we you know, you've played your role, why don't you leave? And then that contest, that fierce agitation for control of the resources of Rivers people is what is at play in my mind. And so how to resolve that is to go back to a situation in which we allow contests to happen in Rivers. This consensus of you be minister, you be ambassador, you be this, everything is shared, then let us arrange it. That arrangee will continue to produce the kind of outcome that you see in Rivers, in my view.
But is this peculiar to Rivers, though? Because, I mean, it takes someone with a little political head to look around. Is this peculiar to Rivers? If you say, I give, yes, look around. Have there been given such givens in other places? Why don't we have the kind of conflicts that we have in Rivers today?
The greed that has held Rivers together is the resources. The adhesive holding that state together is the resources that is at play. In other places where they don't have that kind of resources, these issues cannot be as fierce as they are. So when you ask if there are places, in many places it's simmering. Eboyi, for instance, you may be having Wifuru, Umahi, you know, simmering
neighboring states.
Yes.
Neighboring states.
You understand what I'm saying? But it is not as fierce because the resources to control is not as much as what you have in Rivers. So for me, it's the political economy of the management of the resources of that state manifesting as the problem of Rivers people. And until that is delineated and separated in terms of, so like I said, I've given you, and you are very familiar with that environment. Look at it from the beginning. Why has it been difficult for successors and predecessors to manage their relationship in a way that does not drag in, you know, the ordinary Rivers person? It is control of resources.
Ezema, thank you. And Jide, Ezema just in his very subtle way poked at the concept of godfatherism. And I'm just wondering why the case of Rivers is quite different. Because in other climes, you know, there's still an element of godfatherism in politics. I mean, it's all over the world. In the US, we saw it play vividly. So why is that? What is wrong with godfatherism concept, you know, within the context of our conversation?
Well, you are right, Claire, that concept of godfatherism is very pervasive globally. We will be pretending to think it's a Nigerian phenomenon. It's not. But you see, godfathers manifest different values, if I can call it values, across. It's jurisdictional, it's environmental, it's peculiar to, and Ezenwa was very spot on when he talked about resource control by personal individual. You know, this is what played out in Anambra 2003 to 2006 between Ngige and Chris Ngige and Chris Uba, you know, about even before then, even before then, that he could not pay salaries of civil servants, teachers. Schools were shut for over 1 year because he was settling political debt that he incurred to get him into power. And when they saw that, oh, this one is just useless, they backed another horse who signed an irrevocable standing order. And when he got power, he wanted to be his own man. And that led to a arson of 3 days where almost every government infrastructure in the state was destroyed. Who has been called to order? who was questioned. Has anybody been jailed? Was the architect of that, was he prosecuted? He is a non-face. He didn't run. People knew. Look at what happened in Oyo State. In Oyo State is a reversal. Ladoja and late Adedibu, you know, Ladoja provided the money, but he doesn't have the clout. He doesn't have the muscle that Adedibu has to install it. He provided the funds, and when it was also about resource control, okay, we agree. I'm your chief security officer. Even though I don't have any constitutional rule, but you are supposed to. I mean, the man said it. He said, "I'm supposed to be your chief security
because it was that blunt.
Because you collect security vote. Shouldn't I have a sizable chunk of that security vote to secure you in power?" And when there are betrayers, and political betrayers are known to be very rife. Look at Godfather Godson relationship from 1999. Let's take it from 1999 to date. Where has there been no betrayal? It's just that in some places they were able to manage it, but in some other it blows out. And then look at Lagos. Okay, we can say without any equivocation, our president is a godfather. But he seems to be a benevolent godfather in a sense that we have not had him, despite all the godchildren, because it's not just godsons that President Tinubu has. He has godchildren, male and female. You saw when he was campaigning in 2023, there was a very big map of people he has installed in different. And he himself said, "Look, Yemi Osinbajo would never have been vice president of Nigeria, but for me, it was an open secret." Did he not say it in Abeokuta? He said, "But for me, I was asked, give me a name." And I said, they said that I should bring 3. But I said, no, if I bring 3, you can pick the wrong one. I gave them your son's name. It was open. That is godfatherism. But you see, and when you look at the frosty relationship, when former vice president Yemi Osinbajo decided to run against his godfather, see the humiliation he suffered at the Eagle Square here, where people were calling him names to his face. That was the sitting vice president. Say, "You are a betrayer. You are disloyal. How can you rise and contest against your godfather?" So godfatherism, it's just that rivers provide a very peculiar one. While some godfathers can say, "Okay, next election, I will make sure."
I'll deal with you.
Remember what happened in Zamfara when one made the other, and the other, I think it's Mahmuda Shinkafi and Yari, and he went out and said, "You are just going to be one term." So the next election, the man was removed. The man was not allowed. The same thing with Ambode versus GS. So we see all of this in premature all over. But you see, Rivers' context is like Ezenwa said. In some of the elections, you even have a semblance of contestation, primary, and then somebody winning, and then you in Rivers, somebody said, "All of you, I bankrupt your election." Behind the scene, this person wasn't running a charity. It was an investment. It was a political investment. So if you agree that I don't have funds, and that's just imagine Jojo without resources, and somebody said in 2027, come and be the governor, I must know that there will be a consequence. And if I cannot stomach what they will tell me, I should rather say, "Thank you so much for believing in me, but I'm not interested."
But is it usually told everything that you are expected to do?
No. If you are not, they don't have to spell it out for you. You should know that a multi-billion naira project, somebody is saying, "Come and take it for free." You should know that there is no free lunch in Freetown.
Jude, we will come to that to address this very important issue, because again, while that may be true, what if the burden is heavier on the person that is given,
You can
and there are
resign.
implications?
You can resign.
Resign? Okay, let's.
Oh, you don't want to? Okay,
No.
somebody gave you, and then they didn't spell it out for you. So when you are joining
Somebody
court,
should have resigned.
if you are joining court, they will not tell you are going to kill. They will tell you the good sides of it. If you then get in and realize that, oh, you are going to be the hitman, you should have found out what will be the cost. Ask the relevant question. Many of us, because the juicy position is just too much. Whether somebody is making you a minister, an ambassador, giving you something for free, you should know.
Jide, sorry.
Terms and conditions apply.
Jide,
what is the terms and condition that applies to that seat?
Jide, just in a yes or no, should Fubara, should he have resigned when the heat was becoming too hot for him? Going by your premises.
But by virtue of what they are now making, because it's in authority, it's in power, but it's not in authority.
Okay, let me bring in.
He should have resigned.
Yes, let me bring
Honorably.
Let me bring in Sajo. Betrayal, lack of context, like everyone said, begets betrayal. And of course, betrayal is because there is resource to control. Before that, the Rivers can go back to that level, this very scenario must be played out. And you have said that it will be difficult for, the impeachment not to, go through in the State House of Assembly. Are the processes that easy? Are the processes provided by the Constitution that easy?
It's not
looking at the definition of gross misconduct and the fact that, of course, the state chief judge must also constitute a panel that will investigate the allegations.
It's not a question of whether the process is easy or not easy. If you read the case of Onikoju versus Adeleke, it was an impeachment case that was exhaustively discussed in the court, and the court said these are the procedures that were not followed and the rest. Subsequently, even after that, again, the impeachment process never followed the right course. What really matters in this whole discussion is that when politics is transactional, every transaction has its own rules. You have to follow the rules of the transaction or you opt out. Very simple situation. And, we're talking about areas where there are, disagreements. There are also areas where people install people and you've never had any
rancor.
Take, for example, the current vice president. Zulum was his commissioner. Until Zulum was to contest for governor, he had no house of his own. So naturally, he did not have resources. He was bankrolled and everything. But from the very day Zulum became the governor, after the inauguration, the current vice president, who was then the governor, became senator, made an announcement before all the stakeholders that I used to be your leader, but today, this is our leader. We all have to follow him. And, whatever is happening on the ground, nobody has heard of it. It's the same thing. We also have another model in Ekiti. Oyebanji was he was chief of staff, then later SSG to Fayemi. The very day he became governor, Fayemi gathered people and said, this is now my leader, our leader. And, pulled back. So it has happened that the system has been managed. It has also happened that the system has been mismanaged. But what matters actually is that when you are participating in a transactional process, you must be prepared to abide by the rules of the transactional process.
What are the rules?
But let us look at the provisions of the constitutions with regards to impeachment.
Yeah?
Yes. And I'm just looking at the part where if the lawmakers, pass the different stages, the first 2 stages, the other stage is for the chief judge of the state to constitute a panel to investigate the allegations. Yes. And we know that the chief judge of Rivers State at the moment, was appointed by the governor.
It doesn't matter. It really, really, really doesn't matter. It has happened, while I was an active, observer of the situation. It doesn't matter whether whether the chief judge appoints a panel but the important thing is that, there are a lot of things within the process that are not, strictly speaking, based on law, but based on value judgment. What constitutes gross misconduct? For example, in the case of Rivers, if it is proved that the governor expended money without appropriation, that could easily be proved as a misconduct. If, as it is now, if you read the Supreme Court judgment, that he had put the governance in Rivers State in jeopardy, he has put this in jeopardy, he has done this all for fear of impeachment, meaning every action he took was to stop an impeachment process, not necessarily to observe the law. And if all of this that he took was considered by the Supreme Court to have been wrong actions, what would you call the actions he took that the Supreme Court decided to say is wrong? So what I am saying is that, the acts of gross misconduct, withholding the salaries of the legislators, could also be considered because legitimately they deserve their emoluments. So there are a lot of, areas where you could easily find
the government culpable.
Since Ahmed Sajo didn't quite respond to my question, he mentioned rules, and I had wanted him to define,
you want
to define the rules.
No, those rules are mentioned during the time that you are
not privy to them.
Yeah, no, it's not about being privy to them. The chief here had mentioned it. My brother Jide Ojo had mentioned it.
Well,
when they are giving you, look, he said there is no free lunch even in Freetown. That's the truth. When they are giving you something, you must know that it has a price. Everything that you get has a price.
Well, now I'll have to find out the price of my cup of tea. Because, but now that we are here.
You end this one. You end this. You end the cup of tea.
I end the cup of tea.
Yes, you end the cup of tea because you are doing legitimate work. Let's not trivialize. Rivers conversation is a very inconvenient conversation.
Very inconvenient, honestly.
It's inconvenient conversation because nothing in that place followed any rule. The pretense to the contrary is what we are just skirting around.
Even the decision of the Supreme Court.
No, you can't. I tell people that judiciary waits for you. The judiciary does not say Ahmed Sajo come. There are things you do. When you do them, somebody goes to the judiciary and say, "This is what Eze has done. Please look at it." And on the basis of what is presented before them, do you understand what I'm saying? They take a decision. That decision may not be convenient for the parties, but you did something. There's something. Let's get the fulcrum of this conversation. Did Fubara stand for primaries? When he did not appear for primaries and became governor, didn't he know there's something fundamentally wrong with that? Is he not aware? Didn't he know? When he was hiding inside government house, running away from prosecution from the EFCC, why didn't he bring himself out to the EFCC and say, "Look at me, I want to, can you check me out and so that I can go and run?" Somebody bulldozed through these processes and made him governor.
So Fubara is the villain now?
No, they produced bulldoze through these processes. Everybody was clapping. There is no tendency that Wike is manifesting today that Fubara did not see throughout their engagement from director in the. So he's been there. He knows all of these tendencies, everything you can accuse Wike of. That's why I told you that this conversation is a very inconvenient conversation. But to say it the way it is, and that I don't like textbook analysis. Whether the chief judge, whether this process of impeachment will go the way Fubara became governor. That's the same method they are going to use to impeach him. Whatever way he became governor, he knows the way he became governor.
Clarify for us, because what is out in the public is that Fubara was duly elected.
Okay, I have
because you are a member.
I observed the elections. Go and check the 2023 reports of civil society organizations and check out which two states had very difficult reports from the 2023 election. Imo and Rivers. The report is there. Check EU, check Yaga, check Situation Room, check Rivers, Imo. How they are able to, that's why I said the same process that made him governor. If the process that made him governor is very good, then that good process is what will be used to impeach him.
All right.
Sorry, just hold on, Fred. Let's look at, let's forget about the process. Let's look at what is on ground. That's the impeachment, and the lawmakers are banking on, the judgment of the Supreme Court, and are saying, look, the governor tactically has refused to obey the Supreme Court judgment, and that is the basis for the notice.
What is the Supreme Court judgment? What did the Supreme Court say?
Of course, that they should be paid their emolument. That it's part of it. It's part of it that they should be reinstated. Recalled.
So that's what I'm saying. That the Supreme Court noted violations. He has just told you that those violations that the Supreme Court, you can be saying what you like. Are they misconduct? Can they be interpreted as gross misconduct? Did you violate the Constitution?
But the governor has repeatedly said he had taken steps, to comply with the decisions of the Supreme Court.
It's not what he says.
Has it been?
It's not what he says. There are two parties. Somebody benefited from the judgment. Your interpretation of the judgment cannot superimpose me that took you to court. I would know whether you have satisfied. I'm the one. I would also know that. I'll be there to know whether you have satisfied.
I would not want to know your court.
But
I will.
That's why I said it's a very inconvenient conversation. But I'm trying to.
We're having it anyway. But since we are here, Jide, to what extent would you say that the courts have shaped this whole crisis? It's a crisis. I'm not saying, the courts instigated the crisis, but the court has been a part and parcel of it from the very beginning. To what extent would you say they have shaped the conversation, the situation to where we are today? For good or for evil?
See, don't blame the courts. The courts, in a sense, when you look at issues of judiciary in this matter, every judicial decision gives them a friend and an enemy. If it swings to your side one way, you say, oh, judiciary is the best thing, it's the last hope of the common man. Did you know that the High Court, Rivers High Court, endorsed that Edison, Ehiye, and 3 others are legit, that they are the...
After the defection.
After the defection. And I was like, How could a court say 4 out of 32 is legitimate? You saw the tragedy of presenting a appropriation bill of 800 billion in the morning, and in the evening they returned it to the governor and said it has been passed. 800 billion spent. We know what due process of lawmaking is supposed to be. But the judiciary said 4 is okay, since 27 has defected.
But isn't that on the basis of legitimacy? What does the law say about defection?
What legitimacy? What legitimacy are you talking about? I don't think, and you know, there's always been, from even, I mean, let me be sincere, I thank the dramatics personnel for choosing to go the path of
the law
rather than self-help. The only worry I have now is that with this impeachment notice, which Fubara has been evading for close to 2 years, he was evading. He knew this would come. This day that happened yesterday was what set the whole thing rolling. He had that the State Assembly was going to impeach him. And then Sunday preceding the Monday that this notice will be served, there was a fire in the chambers of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Did you know that?
I heard it.
When the fire happened and the members could not sit on a Monday, the next thing the governor did was to go and demolish the structure under the guise that, since there is a fire,
he wanted to
renovate. So relocate somewhere. And then you said, these people have defected. It is not for you. In a matter of defection, it is the speaker that will declare the seat vacant before INEC will conduct by-election. But the speaker here is one of the defectors. And now you go to court. So from October 2023, it has been State High Court to Federal High Court. This one will give a judgment, a court of court.
But does that mean there are blind spots? Because if the speaker is a part of the defectors, what does the law say? What does the law say? Who should now declare the seats vacant?
Just one moment. See, if Victor says, as we are sitting here now, you say I've resigned from NTA. That's all. You have not resigned, you know. Because you said it here does not mean you resigned. What will the resignation mean? That you do a letter, right? You do a letter, practical letter, sent to the DG, receive your own copy of the acknowledgement copy that you have resigned. If you say
even at that, the approving authority must say I approve the resignation.
So if all you said inside the studio is that I have resigned, and then you go out and people are saying you have resigned, and then something happened, Daisy speaks to you and say, well, why do you say that? Blah, 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 blah. And then you go back and people heard you when you said you have resigned, but they didn't know that you did not tender any letter. See, technical law, the law is very clear. This defection thing is not as confusing as people want to make it. There are different grounds that there is crisis in your party and that you will resign. Crisis in the party. Which party doesn't have crisis today? Which one? Show me the one that you will say, okay, this party, there is no crisis. Right? So, grounds for defection that people hold on to. And it is, when you have all done that, it is also the court. These same courts that will say, okay, he has defected.
No, you see, the bottom line about this defection, because the Fubara camp was hinging their disagreement with Supreme Court decision on the fact that these 27 lawmakers have defected.
I've explained that.
Wait, you didn't fully explain it. Why the blind spot was that when you defect from a party and you claim to be a member of another party, you will go to your ward and register de novo afresh to be a member of your new party. Nobody has been able to cite or bring to bear. See, when Loretta Onoche was going to be made National Commissioner in INEC,
yes.
What did civil society do? They went and dig up a registration details at a ward in Delta.
Don't say they, we went.
Okay. So, but in this case, these 27 members said, we have defected. They said it on video. They alleged that they came to Abuja and swore an affidavit. But in the eye of the law, a membership of a party is you must have registered with that party at your ward. In fact, I recall that when Atiku Abubakar defected and he wanted to come back to PDP, they said you have to go back to your ward in... You cannot even register in Wadata Plaza in Abuja.
No.
You cannot.
He went to Jimeta.
You have to go back to your ward. That you cannot say, I'm rejoining PDP, then you come to headquarters and say, give me membership card. You have to go, and that's why you see court has been consistent. When they wanted to remove Uche Secondus, they removed him from his ward. When they wanted to remove Adams Oshiomhole, they removed him from his ward. When they wanted to remove even the incumbent national chairman of APC, they used his ward. Just that he was lucky that the ward, he has the power brokers behind it. He would have been a gunner. Look at how they removed Iyochayu. They went to his ward in Benue. It was the ward executive that first suspended him. And it started with Oshiomhole, and I can tell you, from Oshiomhole to Uche Secondus to Iyochayu to even the current national chairman of APC, their removal was orchestrated from their ward. Now, in other
words, these ones did not, in law, in the eye of the law, they did not. They have not defected because they have not consummated their defection. The consummation of your defection is you have left this party. You have openly said you have left. Resigned. Because that's the analogy Eze was made. Okay, you said you have resigned from NTA. But the management said, we have not seen your letter of resignation. So how then do you prove that you have resigned? But the proof of resignation is when El-Rufai left APC last week, he said he has tendered his resignation to his ward in Kaduna, and he openly rejoined
in Zaria.
Then he has now joined SDP. So the validation of
we don't know whether he joined SDP in the SDP ward yet. So that tomorrow now he can.
Tomorrow he will not say I never left. So politicians are very smart. Apologies to you, my Oga. Politicians are very, very smart. You talked about blind spot. They always leave that blind spot. And you could see what also happened in Rivers when Fubara noticed that there was roadblock to his conducting the October 5, 2024 local government elections. He urged his followers to leave for APP. And within a couple of weeks of joining APP, they all emerged local government chairpersons and councillors. And you ask yourself, is that how party system supposed to run?
Exactly.
Somebody is a member of PDP until the eve of a local government election, and that's all of a sudden they said, oh, we are now a member of...
So what does this say? What does this say about the kind of government we run? Is this a democracy then? Is it... And that's why you see, in some places you sense a kind of opposition to the democracy as the US might put it. Some parts of the world will say, democracy is when it suits them and all of that. Ahmed Sajo, how does this tell the story of the system we run? Is this truly democracy? If we go by the kind of things that politicians get away with, well, you may be the best person to respond.
At least I am a professional working with politicians.
Oh, not a professional politician.
Well, let me tell you, there's a story we were told when we were kids, and it illustrates where we are today. That a man, a thief, went out and stole some goods and came back home and gave his wife to go and sell in the market. And the wife took the goods to the market, and then somebody tricked her and stole the goods from her. And when she returned home, the husband said, "How was the market?" She said, "No, it was very good." "Were you able to sell?" He said, "Yes, I sold it." "How much did you sell it?" He said, "Exactly the way how you bought it. That's how I sold it." You know. So generally, when a system, when you are working with a system, and you know exactly what flows exist within the system, and you accept the system hook, line, and sinker, including its own flows, then you have to flow with these flows and, do what is considered needful under the circumstances. If we do not recalibrate the entire democratic process, even this concept of defection, if there is crisis in the party, if I am a legislator or I am a governor or I hold an executive position and I have some resources at my disposal, to go back to my ward and my local government and even my state to establish parallel executive and claim that there is factionalization in my party is not going to be very difficult. These are some of the legal lacunas that they have inserted into the system. If they had said that whoever is elected, the moment you change party, because the mandate was given to the party, not to you, the moment you change party, you lose the mandate, whatever the circumstances. It would have been okay. Let me tell you what happened in Adamawa State at one point in time. Ima Bello, got nominated as PDP House of Reps representative candidate. But somehow Abuja here manipulated it and changed it and put Haske Hanani as the candidate. Ima Bello did not argue. He went and sat down and waited. Haske Hanani had run all the campaigns. And then the moment they announced the party as the winner, Ima Bello went to the court, said, "I was the candidate of the party." And let me tell you, the person that campaigned and did everything and did not come to the house. It was the person that was the candidate. That tells you that the mandate even that we are carrying on our heads if we get elected, that mandate belongs to the party. So we refuse to accept the fact that once you defect, you should drop that mandate to the party that gave you the mandate. And the defection process is very clear. Announcements are not defections.
Okay, you said announcements are not defections.
Yeah.
But at least a court in Rivers State declared the seats of those lawmakers vacant. But I just want to know the basis really, for coming up with this impeachment by the legislators, even when that court ruling has not been vacated.
Which court ruling?
The court that declared their seat vacant.
You don't know that Supreme Court is the final authority in every matter. That everything that you have said around this issue
is null and void.
It has died.
But the impeachable offences were committed. The alleged impeachable offences were committed at the time that there was a subsisting ruling that these were no lawmakers.
Victor, you are speaking English.
That's the language of communication.
But help us clarify for us, because that's what
that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That the Supreme Court has put a closure to all the shenanigans that has gone on in the legal gymnastics that's been going on in Rivers. Every court session, once they rule, the two parties are always rejoicing. If you have followed, once the court rules, the two parties are excited. So you really wonder
who is the beneficiary.
So you have to come to. That's why we have these stages of legal, interpretations. You go through this high court, you go to court of appeal. When you have come here, right? the matter is closed. That's number one. Two is that in the heat of all this our conversation, what is at play for me always is that the Rivers person is not in the equation. They are not. The fights are elite fights. And until that is underscored, they are elite fights. The person fighting, the people, the dramatis personae, like my brother Jide will say, that are involved in this whole thing, go and check them since 1999. The same family, political family. So, when this matter is resolved, the family will go back and reconcile themselves the way they have always reconciled, and wait again for another time. We will be hitting our heads. Let us only have the failure of analysis, but let's not have the failure of imagination. What I'm saying is that where do we situate the Rivers person in this? Because if we don't, all we will do is to play the tunes that they continue to dish out for us. I am not going to bother my head if Fubara is impeached. I'm just telling you, if he's impeached, the next person that will come is a member of their same. Who is Amechi? Who is all these people are these people the same. There are others who are on the side, though. Magnus, Abe, all of them, all of those people they are all playing in this. And it's a quicksand in Rivers State. Because before you know it now, enemies, sworn enemies, will be doing Thanksgiving together.
Now that you've talked about the place of the Rivers people in all of this, that's the next stage we are going to. We want to look at, although Sajo had initially alluded to a political resolution, Governor Fubara keeps saying that he wants peace. He will not spare anything, in the will to achieve peace and all that. And I'm just wondering, are his current steps, are they peaceful steps?
Thank you, Claire. I wish to say yes, but I think Governor Fubara is listening to the wrong crowd. People who are not there in the closet, behind the closed door, when the negotiation about how to make him a governor was permutated, are the people who are advising him and trying to let him know that you can break free and be your own man. They are the one. Don't forget that even political solutions have been, the president spearheaded a political solution in December 2023, when all of them were, all the key dramatics personnel were brought to Abuja at Aso Rock here, and the president sat and facilitated an 8-point resolution. And at that time, what Fubara was trying to avoid was given to him. The president said there should be no impeachment of Fubara, that the impeachment move should be halted. But recognize Martin Amewule, those commissioners that have resigned from your cabinet, reabsorb them.
But he did.
Wait, he did. But at some point, people, some lawyers, started advising you are a stupid man, you are a foolish man. How could you, out of 8 points, all you got was your seat is preserved. Which seat? You need to break free. We can use the instrumentality of the law. See, the law that you are trying to use is said to be an ass. Now, what I think, and you could see as at yesterday, people, I saw some lawyers who are saying that president should invite and try to mediate. That would be the third time. Last week, Pandef came to Abuja, asked the president to intervene. The president said, Fubara implement the Supreme Court decision. Now, let's go to the implementation of Supreme Court decision. This is where I fought Fubara. I like him. He's a gentleman. But you see, I have said on several media platforms, you don't ride on the back of a tiger and not end up being consumed by it. When you ask for favor from you must count the cost. There will be consequences. Now, since February 28th, when Supreme Court ruled, he has taken a number of faulty steps. Even when he announced that I'm going to fully comply, first you said you are waiting for the certified true copy of the Supreme Court decision. By Thursday of the following week, many people, including many media houses, have already have it. You said you are waiting till Friday. Now, you acted well by saying local government chairperson and councillors
should go
hand over to head of administration. He did that right. Now, you now instructed the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission to start planning another election. That was a faulty step.
Well, you will tell us.
Wait.
You will tell us because we have to go on break.
Okay.
You will tell us how this step is faulty because I thought he got that right after this break. Please don't go away. The conversation, well, is just about to begin.
Welcome back, and you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're looking at the political situation in Rivers State with special focus on the notice of impeachment served Governor Siminayi Fubara. And Jude, you were, giving us...
So for me, if I were Governor
you
Fubara...
said, just so that we don't lose track, you said it was a false move.
Yes, to have asked... No. He did the right thing by saying...
Local government
chairperson that were elected on October 5, 2024. The Supreme Court has removed you.
So you should hand over.
So hand over to head of administration. Mm-hmm. Now, there was an issue. There were those who have been previously removed, who have gotten another judgment, who wanted to resume. Then, the Amewule faction had also similarly given 6 months extension to the 1 wiki left that were elected under wiki. And it was in that crossfire that Fubara appointed caretaker committee in June last year that the July 11, 2024 Supreme Court decision that talks about financial autonomy and credible local government happened, which was why Fubara hastened to go and conduct another election last October. Now, why I said it was a faulty move to have instructed the Rivers State Electoral Commission to conduct another one where they have now fixed August 9 for another local government election was that you just came back from court. You said you want to study the Supreme Court decision. If you are going to have this local government election, their funding for that election should be in the appropriation law, isn't it? So you now said, Chairman Rivsec, go and conduct another election. There should have been a consultation. Now, number 3, he said he wanted to represent the budget. The lawmakers are claiming, even after several correspondences, that they have not cited one communication officially from the governor. And the governor or the SSG has also instructed that any communication coming from the House of Assembly should not be accepted. I don't know whether people are reasoning that.
But this is war against war.
Yes, is this in public domain?
It's in public domain. If you listen to Amewule Asat yesterday, he said, look, we have not received any... Okay, look at the drama that played out last Wednesday. The governor said you called the speaker severally. He didn't pick. You called other members, they didn't pick. You now said you have written a letter to tell them you will be coming.
Because he was given 48 hours?
That 48 hours lapsed the first week of March. The governor did not obey it. That was when the governor said, I want to receive the CTC and study it. See, both camps are dodgy. But let me quickly land on this. So when you say you have written to the assembly We saw the letter in the media, but the assembly said they have not seen. You mentioned something earlier, Claire. Fubara has seized the emolument of the Amewule-led assembly since October 2023. As a peace offering, that is what it should have first released. To say, this is your money. Yeah, to pave way for at least a political resolution. Then, you know the first correspondence the governor allegedly sent to the assembly was signed by SSG. And they said, look, it is demeaning. All previous communication is signed by the governor. And that's why they failed to honor the first invite, which was supposed to be last week, Monday. Now, in all of this, who is playing to the gallery? If you say you want to represent the budget, is there a confirmation that these people said, we have received your correspondence and we are willing to meet with you on the set date?
We need to move on because the time is fast spent, and now the impeachment notice is out there and the lawmakers have adjourned Senate. How do we move from here? What can be done?
No, they have amended their rules that they can meet at any point when it is necessary. It's all part of the gimmick. It's all political game. See, those who are, and let me correct an earlier impression. The issue of defection of the 27 member has not been laid to rest. As at yesterday, the Rivers State High Court has reserved judgment to decide on whether those 27 members have defected or not. They initially instituted, the government camp, the Fubara camp initially instituted this case, but when the president mediated, they withdrew. I don't know whether you understand me. They withdrew this from the court. Meanwhile, the Amewule camp did not withdraw their own litigation. The affidavit,
which is amounts to perjury.
So this, but this is a
all of this will come to the Supreme Court. If the matter is not what is before the Supreme Court, if it was not part of what is before the Supreme Court, the judgment of the lower court will not subsist until it is also exhausted.
Yeah.
So whatever you see in the high courts, especially when you can go all the way, does not play. But before all of that happens, once impeachment goes through, all of these, but the big challenge for me, and I will keep saying, I don't know where you are going with this, why you want us to quickly talk about political resolution. It is not in
because the time is
it's not in our place to talk about.
I think what we need to talk about more is the fact that the whole thing is getting messy. People are now using the presence of the new media, even using AI-generated false activities, and beginning to see whether they could foment crisis. And that's where the question he raised matters a lot more.
And that's why I'm asking.
Where is the place
is there
of
a
the
middle
Rivers
point?
of the
Is there a
Rivers
middle
person?
point between the two parties? Is there a meeting point? Could there be a meeting point at this stage?
If the House,
to
I'll tell you what will happen. If the House decides to adjourn plenary until they decide to reconvene, what they're telling you is that they will not reconvene until after the 14 days. And between now and the 14 days, if they don't reconvene, there's nothing you can do.
But Jide has said there's been an amended, they can come back. So it means there's a window for peace.
No. Normally, what they do in the legislature is that when they adjourn Sinadai, they still have their rules agreed that the speaker, we noticed it here, there was a time the National Assembly adjourned and then there was an issue that forced the House of Representatives to convene an emergency meeting in Abuja to discuss that issue. And they all came and discussed the issue and again went home. It's in their rules. But what we are saying is that once a 14-day notice is given, I tell you that the House would suspend all businesses and wait for the 14 days. And they may even, to some extent, disappear. So no pressure is put on them to even reverse anything that they have done. By the end of the 14 days, the chief judge had no option. When they accept that the 14 days is over, the chief judge had no option than to empanel a committee, a panel, that will look at the impeachment notice, look at the allegations, and what matters is whether the governor's side will be given a fair hearing or not. In the case of the one I have experienced, there was no fair hearing.
Is there anything that Minister Wike can do in this instance to restore, to bring all parties back to the drawing table?
Yeah,
invite him to the studio to ask him if there's anything. I'm just joking. The point is this: there is window for political settlement.
Is there still?
You see, the onus is on Fubara. Okay. Wike said a few days ago that the people advising you are people that I refused to make governor and made you governor instead. I thought, when I read that, I saw a window. Like, hey boy, come back.
In fact, there was something in the media yesterday that Fubara called Wike.
I'm just coming. What I'm saying is that I thought that there was a window in that. See, I keep saying that these people are not enemies. What is in contest is control of interest. When you call it interest, you are veiling it.
Resources.
Control of the resources
of the state.
So you have become governor. Your wife says, who is governor now? Is it you or Wike that is governor? And then your predecessor calls you, the aides, PA, that was not there when the agreement was reached. We said, His Excellency is sleeping. I will tell him when he wakes up. Then they will not tell him that he called. All of these are the characters who run around you, brew these issues. Governor Fubara should lift himself above those things and approach the man who he had issues with agreement. He can go to him.
Yes.
Let him be the problem.
Oga, I have come. Please.
Let's resolve this. Let's resolve this.
Not just Oga, but bros, because they are related.
That's what I'm saying. Because you asked me for. So, what do you see? You see arrogance, impunity everywhere. People who were not part of the conversation are the ones who are playing you see the dancing that goes on in that state. Waxing music. Burials are opportunity for all kinds of. If Wike does not want anything, he has been governor. 2-time governor. No, he's a third-time governor in FCT. So he does not. There is nothing you are playing. So if you Fubara, you are the one that will lose. So the owners, people are telling him to be honorable, that he should have courage, that even if he is impeached, that history will have all those English does not matter now.
Where do we go from here?
Where we go from now is, since it's two fighting. Those two people that are, when I say two fighting, because I know the Rivers people are not part of this. They are only brought into it, but they are not part of it. The two principal dramatis personae holds the key to the resolution of this crisis.
Please, let's speak to Pandev, because Pandev has.
My dear sister, let me tell you, no organization, no matter how critical or powerful it is, can resolve a situation that involves two people who are each riding on the high horse of I am right. What matters at this point in time is for Fubara in particular, who is going to be the victim if the process goes through, to do a SWOT analysis. Look at his strength, look at his weakness, look at the opportunities there and the threats that could make it like that. I have passed through this road twice. I have had a cause to have even been, no, it's true. I have had a cause where thugs were directed to deal with me for calling for a truce between my principal and somebody that my principal was fighting that was stronger than my principal. And at the end of the day, my principal lost. So what I'm trying to say is that when you know that at the point of the struggle, your strength is less. All those that are calling there will be fire in Rivers, they did it to us. Anybody that touches the governor, we will raid. By the time the governor was removed, there was no pimp.
Please, let's look at the political lessons that we need to take away from what is happening so far, so that, to enable us improve democracy.
The political lesson has been well articulated by Ezenwa, but before I lose my thought about what other window of opportunity exists to resolve this issue, on several platforms I've called for National Peace Committee, headed by General Abdusalami Abubakar, Bishop Zakuka. I have said even someone like General Yakubu Gowon, can call the two people and to Abuja, sit together and said, what is the minimum and what is the maximum that you want to resolve this? It's not in the interest of Rivers to remove Fubara, because Fubara represents a group, the first riverine person to be made governor. Now, the precedent may be said that these people are disloyal, because political loyalty, see, 99% is not enough in politics. You have to be 100% loyal. If you are perception, it may not be true. Perception of disloyalty is a heinous crime. Now, I have said, National Peace Committee, don't just wait for elections and get people to sign peace accord. This is another opportunity to sign another peace accord. Rivers can burn. Let's not take anything off the table. Rivers is not Adamawa, sir. Rivers is not Adamawa. You may say nothing will happen if it's removed. There could be collateral damage. Rivers is the treasure base of Nigeria. Rivers is where we have 1.5 billion newly renovated refinery. Rivers is where we have national liquefied NLNG. Yes. Multi-billion-dollar investment. So it is in the enlightened interest of Nigerian states to mediate and see that there is no breakdown of law and order. Let me answer that now. Yes. The political takeaway is that anyone, as we prepare for 2027, somebody wants to make you a senator, House of Reps member, governor, ask for the price beyond money. Ask for what price do I have to pay for this largesse that you are throwing at me?
Jide, thank you.
Because if you don't count your cost,
Jide, I have to tell before they charge us for extra time, Jide. I will have to thank you. I will have to thank you, Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst, is a firebrand. Thank you for always sharing your thoughts with us. As Nwanwago, Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, we do appreciate your perspectives. And of course, Honorable Ahmad Sajo, former Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Adamawa State. Thank you for sharing your experience. Twice you were beaten. All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for this Tuesday, the second for the week. Tomorrow is another day, and I'll be here. Hope you join me. I am Claire Adelabu Abdurrasaq. Bye-bye.
And I am Victor. We appreciate your company on the program today. Do have a great day.